Well, another new signing for Chelsea, Kiernan Dewsberry Hall, which really should not be too surprising. In today's video, though, we are going to be looking at this player and what he did last season with Enzo Maresca, which again makes sense why he's coming to Chelsea, and what he offered to Leicester that he can bring to Chelsea. Now, let's look at his heat map and everything, see exactly what he did offer. Now, when you are looking at this player, he is a phenomenal player. The big takeaway, I think, is that he is 25 years old. This is a guy that is not a young player, fairly young, I should say. He has experience. Yes, he hasn't really played much in the Premier League. He did obviously play for Leicester before they got relegated, but still, this is a guy that really can shine at Chelsea. And there will be a few things that we will talk about that could make an issue with this player. But the first thing I do want to look at over here is the heat map. Now, when we look at this heat map, you are seeing exactly where this player can operate with his skill set. He is mostly going to be out on this left side, which is going to help us have more potential and creative on the left. Because as we remember last year, there wasn't a whole lot going on from that side. And I think that's due to the fact that we had Cole Palmer on this right side where everything did go through. So the fact that now we're going to have him on this left side with possibly Cole Palmer playing that right wing, depending on how we do want to operate with all the players that we have, which again we will talk about in a little bit in this video, makes a huge dilemma for teams to play against Chelsea, because not only can we attack right down the middle, right down the right, down the left, we have different creativity and different options for all the players that we have now at this club. Now, the big thing I do want to talk about are all his capabilities and what he does here. Now, if you're looking at his attributes here, I don't think this gives a full credit on exactly what he can do here, because I think his tackling is actually fairly good for a player in the midfield. Now, he doesn't have to just rely on that, because we are going to have Cancedo behind him, who again is going to be holding that midfield down with his defensive rate. But still, he is a guy that can win us the ball back and understands the pressure that Maresca does want to do with this team. But the big thing I do want to look at here is creativity, because this man is unselfish. When you watch him play last year, you can see how he can play the ball around to all the players around him. He's not just looking out for himself, which Raheem Sterling, he is looking for his players that he can play the ball to and possibly do a 1-2 with those players. And if not, lay it off to them to score very easily. We saw this multiple times last season. And the fact is, he still scored 12 goals in the league itself, which, yes, again, you could argue is the championship. But still, the goals that he was scoring were pretty fantastic goals, and the chances he was creating were also very easy for his players. And therefore, again, this can create a massive chance for Nicholas Jackson, who, yes, has been struggling in front of the goal, but to have a guy who can lay the ball in front of him, in front of the goal, will make him even more lethal as a striker, and possibly Nkuku as well, depending on who we're starting with all these players. But the fact is, he does bring that to the table. Not only with his passing, though, he can dribble the ball and unlock defenses that way. You've seen him move throughout the entire pitch and, again, take on players one-on-one, and he can create chances that way along with the passing. And what he also brings are set pieces. This is something that I think we really did lack last season due to the fact that Reece James being out injured for most of the season. We really didn't have a guy that could swing a ball in, and he has that capability with his left foot. We don't just have to rely on Cole Palmer being the guy that can only swing balls in. This guy can play it from a set piece, the corner kick, in the middle of the pitch, outside, or even a quick cross across the box. This guy can do that, and therefore, again, it's going to be very difficult for teams to actually understand how to defend this, because when you play a quick ball into the box, defenders can make mistakes, the ball can land anywhere, and therefore that is a possibility for Chelsea to start scoring more goals. Now, along with that, then, what I do want to mention is that he does have a knack for scoring goals too. Like I mentioned earlier, he did score 12 goals, which, depending on who you talk to, may not seem like a whole lot, but really, when you're thinking about a midfielder, that the position that he's going to be playing, this is actually quite good for a player. And what he reminds me of, and again, I'm not going to say he's exactly like him, is Frank Lampard. He has this delayed run into the box, which I think is what we were missing last season, because a lot of our midfield just sat outside the box and never really crashed in. Whereas, again, he's coming late on those crosses and heading the ball. He had quite a few headers last season, and not all of them went in, but still, he was there to crash on any of those rebounds as well, and he did score a few that way as well. This guy, again, has the vision, the audacity to understand where he needs to be and not where the ball is currently, but where the ball is going to end up, which I think is a huge compliment to this player and something not every player can actually do. And the fact that he gives us that capability really is going to help us. But that all being said, we then have to look at how we are going to play in the midfield, because now with all these midfielders coming in, it does beg the question of what happens to Conor Gallagher, what happens to Enzo, what happens to all the other players that were hurt this past season that really did not get to play, like Carney as well, Ugo Cech. There's so many guys that we could list off, but I think Dewsbury being the guy that he is for Leicester and for Enzo last season, you almost have to think that he has to start when he comes to this club, because he already knows the tactics. He already knows what the manager wants. He knows how to enforce it, and he obviously thrived with this manager that you're going to assume he's going to be starting. Now, for 30 million, I think this was a great buy. I think most of our players that we've ever bought around this type of range have played very, very well. It's when we spend way too much money that we definitely don't see the outcome that we're expecting from this players. But for 30 million for 25 years, again, we're going to get a lot from this player moving forward. And like I said, he already can just be implemented into the system. Again, with him starting, it would make sense that we want to see Concedo as that CDM, because we know Maresca wants to do a 4-3-3 for the most part. Then Dewsbury Hall on that left side. Whether we go with Enzo on that right side, or again, I could see even if we do drop Enzo and put Gallagher there. But like I said, there's so many different options, and I think Cole Palmer goes out into that right wing, and Cuckoo could even play in the middle, and then Jackson on that left side, or we can mix and match all these other players. But right now, it will be very interesting to see what happens still in this transfer window with all these players, because with players coming in, more likely not, we are probably going to be selling a few players, and we've already sold quite a few players, but there is the possibility that Gallagher could be on his way out, or even maybe Enzo, which I highly doubt it's going to happen, but there still could be that possibility of him leaving the club this upcoming season. I do want to know, though, what do you guys think on this signing? Do you think this is a good signing? Where do you think this will land Chelsea next season? And what do you expect from this player? Comment down below, and I will get to those comments as quickly as I possibly can. If you did enjoy this content, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe down below. I greatly appreciate it, and I will see you in our next video.